So far, we have 7 of the 13 Primes from Hasbro's new line, Transformers Age of the Primes. Hi everyone, it's your friend Vash, aka Triqqerhappy77 on Instagram. And once again, I've broken my own rule. I keep saying I'm only collecting Transformers that were in the G1 cartoon from back in the 80s. I used to love watching that cartoon when I was a kid, and then running to any store that sold toys to see which of my favorite characters' action figures was sitting on the shelf waiting for me to grab it, follow my parents around the store with it, sneaking it into the shopping cart, getting all the way to the register, and then ultimately putting it back because my parents had said no about 25 times throughout the entire process. But here we are, 40 years later, when kid me wants a Transformer, adult me says put it in the cart. So with the new Age of the Primes Transformers line, we're getting the legendary 13 Primes. Now I admit, I'm no expert on Transformers, but I believe different continuities may have had different members, so for the Age of the Primes, Hasbro has chosen to go with these 13. Voyager Prima Prime, Deluxe Class Solus Prime, Leader Class Megatronus, Titan Class Star Optimus Prime, Deluxe Class Alchemist Prime, Leader Class Onyx Prime, Voyager Class Alpha Trion. Now my Cronus Prime is out there, I haven't gotten him as of this video, but people have been spotting him, so I'll get my grubby mitts on him soon enough. The other 5 are scheduled to come out at some point in 2026. Now as I said, none of these Primes were in the G1 cartoon except for Alpha Trion. So even if I were not collecting the 13 Primes, I would have bought him anyway. I have to have anyone that appeared in any episode from season 1 through 4. So this Alpha Trion will go on my season 2 shelf, but then I need a second Alpha Trion to go with my 13 Primes shelf. So that takes care of that. I don't know, I just thought the idea of having all 13 Primes together on one shelf would be nice to look at. It's like its own little collection. There won't be any more or any side characters or any season 2, just the 13. And they won't sit with my G1 collection, they'll have their own shelf away from G1. I'm trying very hard not to open them until all 13 are here, but it's tough. Some of these guys, Onyx and Megatronus, I really want to open. I've heard so many good things. I've heard mostly positive reviews about all of the Primes so far, but those 2 in particular I'm really looking at. Just my luck, by the time the last ones get released, they'll be making new versions of all of these. But for now, I can at least open up the new Age of the Primes Voyager Class Alpha Trion. So first, as I pull out my trusty co-host and release Alpha Trion from his plastic prison, some people may ask, who is Alpha Trion? So, in the G1 cartoon, this particular Alpha Trion is the one who created Optimus Prime. You see, in one of my favorite episodes, War Dawn, Megatron had a time machine and used it to send the Aerialbots back in time so he wouldn't thwart any more of his evil plans. The Aerialbots landed in the golden age of Cybertron before the war started, and while there, they met Orion Pax, his girlfriend Ariel, and his best friend Dion. So they're all like hanging out and chilling, and they see this flying robot who turns out to be Megatron. Orion is like in awe at this cool, new, hip flying robot. And long story short, Megatron blasts and almost kills Orion, Ariel, and Dion. The Aerialbots drag Orion's near lifeless body across town looking for help, and then boom, Alpha Trion shows up and he's like, get out of here, kid, you bother me. But then he's like, man, I changed my mind. I'll fix him and his girlfriend. And boom, he rebuilt Orion Pax entirely into Optimus Prime, the leader of a new style of fighting robots called Autobots. I mean, talk about Michelangelo's David, am I right? So now, this was the only time we ever saw Alpha Trion like this. So Age of the Primes Alpha Trion out of the box looks and feels like a great figure. I love the head sculpt, the white maskish thing around his eyes, and his white mustache that's going to come up later, so remember that white mustache. He comes with these little mushroom things that go on his shoulder pauldrons, which are supposed to be down, but I kind of like them up. I know it's wrong, but I'm digging it. He has all the basic articulation any action figure should have, even movable fingers. Well, they all move as one, but still. Head tilt and swivel. He rotates at the waist. He even has an ab crunch. And he's got the ultimate ankle tilt. 10-4, good buddy, roll out! However, one little thing I can't ignore, his accessories are a quill, which I don't know if it's a weapon or not, but the pen is mightier than the sword. And I get this feeling that he'd be able to use this quill against any of his enemies using a sword, and ultimately triumph. I know it's meant for him to scribe in the other accessory he comes with, the Covenant of Primes. Don't ask me what that is, I have no idea. But it's this book, and it's really cool. I can't even help it. This is a great accessory. It's a book. It opens, it closes, you can turn the pages. Matter of fact, it has multiple pages. And they're clear with Cybertronian writing on them. This book is great. It has a peg, you can peg it into his hand so it looks like he's reading, but, and here's the one little thing I can't ignore. If he just had wrist rotation, I think I could get some really good scribing poses for him. But that's a relatively small detail because I really like everything else about this figure. I like this cape/backpack. It gives personality to the shape of his body. It almost seems like a pre-cape, like maybe he'll get a bigger, better cape as time goes on. Now this here, his Autobot insignia, it comes off. You're supposed to be able to put it in his hand as a shining beacon of light, but it doesn't hold as well as I think it should. But I was able to remedy that with a little action figure putty. Now Alpha Trion can summon the Primes when trouble looms near. But I love how articulated Alpha Trion is. I really like that you can point his feet down. It helps when he's in a jumping pose. And now the big question is this Age of the Primes Alpha Trion a good enough figure to replace the Legacy Alpha Trion from the Hero Was Born 2-pack? Well, let's take a look. So the first thing to notice is these Alpha Trions are from different time periods, resulting in different versions of the same character. So you can keep both Alpha Trions in your collection. So Legacy Alpha Trion, who is a retool of Studio Series 86 Scourge, the retooling looks great. They did a very good job on him. And this Alpha Trion is an older version. See, Legacy Alpha Trion is based on his modern look from episodes The Search for Alpha Trion and The Key to Vector Sigma. Notice the smaller eyes and the longer mustache and beard. His character is associated with Vector Sigma, the computer which gave all Transformers life. And as an added bonus, Vector Sigma comes packaged with Alpha Trion, complete with a removable key, just in case you need to awaken him and give your Transformers some life. He's in close contact with Elita 1 and the female Autobots, who were thought to be extinct until they broke into Shockwave's base to steal Energon. Greedy Moonracer getting them caught. And then Alpha Trion gave up his life and merged with Vector Sigma so that the aerial bots could be born. And that 2-pack consisted of Alpha Trion and Orion packs. Now we know Alpha Trion rebuilt Orion into Optimus Prime, but it was the younger version of him from the War Dawn episode that did it. So when this 2-pack came out, you just went with it. Who would have ever thought we'd get a younger version of him down the line? Also, we got a Guardian robot from that episode, which, by the way, looked great surrounded by your collection of Blocky's Transformers if you had him in a city scene protecting or guarding Cybertron. But we got another 2-pack with Ariel and Dion. So we got almost all the characters from the War Dawn episode. The only ones we don't have are Megatron's army. Everyone wondered what happened to Dion. Alpha Trion rebuilt Orion into Optimus, and mentioned creating Elita 1 from Ariel, but poor Dion was never mentioned. Now, it's been confirmed that Dion was not rebuilt. He's just no longer with us. But what if Alpha Trion did rebuild him into one of our beloved characters? I think the most popular theory was Dion became Ultra Magnus, but I've also heard Cup, Huffer, and Brawn. But what if he became DevCon? Talk about a plot twist. Alpha Trion could have secretly rebuilt Dion into DevCon and trained him to be a mercenary to do the job Prime and the Autobots couldn't do. Also, how cool would it have been to see young Alpha Trion with his students Orion, Dion, and Ariel running into trouble or having to escape while on treasure hunts and such adventures, finding different artifacts on Cybertron and exploring their characters? Someone should look into that. But here, let's take a look at old Alfie in his alt mode. So it looks like he's a Cybertronian hover ship maybe, or just a ship. I'd say possibly a submarine. But is there water on Cybertron? I don't know, I never thought about it. It's definitely a sleek looking ship. If I didn't know any better, I'd think it was a Decepticon. But it seems no matter what, Alpha Trion is always going to resemble Scourge in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he's a completely new mold, so it's not like they used an old Scourge and repainted or retooled it. It just happens that they kind of look alike, I guess. But to answer the question, there are two great Alpha Trion figures. You can have both Legacy and Age of the Prime, or you could just have one and use either one of the two. They both represent the character very nicely. But that quill, book, cape, and 9.5 out of 10 articulation, Age of the Prime's Alpha Trion make him the better choice. If you can only get one, that's my opinion. Now, young Alpha Trion and Orion may go together, but don't sleep on the Hero Was Born 2-pack. Modern age Alpha Trion is a fantastic figure, a really good retool, looks just like the character, and pull up that animation model. Beautiful. And he looks like a solid duo when paired with his package partner Orion Pax, both in robot mode and in vehicle mode. You do fine with either one if not both. But if you enjoyed my rant, tap that like button. Are you collecting the 13 Primes or any of the 13 Primes? Comment your answer down below. And as always, if you want to see more of my rants about G1 related Transformers cartoons and toys, transform into someone hitting that subscribe button. Thanks for listening to me rant about Transformers Age of the Primes Voyager class Alpha Trion. We'll be back.